Hi, Victory Nation. Welcome to Inside My Victory, a podcast about the church, leadership, and creativity. I'm Pastor Gene.
And I'm Pastor Kelly, and you can follow along with the notes we provided for you at my website, kellystickle.com.
And because you're going to have questions, please send us those questions at leadership@myvictory.ca.
Yeah, please do this. If you are a leader or a pastor and you have a question that's specific to your situation, your church, your needs, your team, please email us again at leadership@myvictory.ca. We would love to take that on.
I know you taught what we're talking about, this podcast, at our All Staff last month.
Yes.
But I think it's really stirring you up, just talking about it again.
Yeah, I love it. I love vision. I love talking about where the church is going.
Yeah.
I love watching and listening and paying attention. And again, this teaching came from gathering a bunch of different sources of people that I've heard or that they've sparked thought in me, and just sat down and started writing and going, man, what am I sensing? What am I hearing? I want to know where the church is going, so I can be on the front end of the wave instead of the backside.
And even
of it.
on an individual life, I'm thinking in my life at this point, what is it I need to have more of and less of?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so relevant to everything here.
So good.
Now, today you're going to talk about two things, and this is going to be like a tongue twister, and I will probably stumble right over it just for fun. But we're going to talk about today more how and less wow. And we're also going to talk about more why and less what.
Yes.
This is so good. So dig into the first one, more how, less wow.
Yeah, both of these are about how we teach, and it's about how we communicate the gospel and get that out. Again, because we're shifting from shifting from more. We're going from more community, less event. So the teaching, again, I'm not just talking about the teaching from the pulpit. I'm talking about all the communication that we as believers have with others, especially the unchurched. We want to communicate more how, less wow. So we've designed our events, again, being attractional. We talked about that last week, and we're going more charismatic. We want to focus less on wowing people and attracting people to our churches. We talked about less broadcast and more social. We're taking the broadcast is I've got to be have a louder wow. I've got to be more more attractional, more what
It becomes more competitive, I think. I mean, it becomes so competitive between ministries and et cetera. I love the how.
So the how is in our teaching is saying, okay, let's not just tell people what to do in life, or let's teach them how. We got to get really practical. And as soon as I mentioned this in our staff meeting, man, you could see it really resonate with our team. We had a number of them saying, Pastor Kelly, that is so true. The message that really stuck out to me the most is when you taught us how to pray. And I've been, one of the girls said, I was raised in a church my entire life, and I had this picture of what prayer is. And then all of a sudden you just stripped it down and made it really, really easy and practical. I thought I had a certain language I had to pray, had a certain tone that I had to pray with, that I got, I had to do a certain
and you
amount
had
of
to
time.
clean up before you did it.
Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden you just said, man, it's a conversation, and taught us how to pray. And she said, that message stuck with me. And then somebody else said, well, man, the message where you and your wife talked about parenting and just talked about, how you guys, brought about cool bucks, for instance, in your kids, and to motivate them. And that really resonated with us. And that's something that stuck out. And it's true where, for our staff and our team who are in this all the time, they said, those are the messages that resonate with us the most. And I think that's where people are at is we can say, pray more. Well, no, let's not do that.
And
let's teach them
that's
how.
what we said years ago. I was in a church one time, and that's what the pastor did all the time. It drove me nuts because he never really told us how.
Right. So I'll be so bold, and I hesitate to say this. I'll be so bold. We've gone through multiple different moves of God that have really pushed to the forefront one or the other fivefold ministry gifts. So we've gone through the Billy Graham era where the evangelist was really propelled to the forefront. We've gone through the river movement and all that where the prophet was really pushed to the forefront. We've gone through all these different movements. I think that with this is, I think the next shift might push the teacher.
I agree 100%. I hope so.
Yeah, I think it's going to push the teacher to the forefront because
I think it's so needed. And
we need that teach, not the preaching.
Yeah.
The preaching is more the wow.
Yeah.
And that stirs people up and people like that. But I think people are really going to gravitate to the nuts and bolts. How? So when we teach, and I think we need to look at, and as communicators, it's a challenge for me going, okay, it's fun. And I love stirring people up and preaching and getting out. I love that. But sometimes I think where the people are at is what we really need is that how
the nuts and bolts, and it goes right into the next piece of this is more why and less what.
Right. So when we teach, and this is a subtle little shift from the last one. They're very interconnected, but not just telling people what to do, but teaching them why. So not just, and I think we can teach them how, and that's great, but really where people are at is why. And we live in an information age where people are being bombarded with all the what's to do, and you need to do what this and what that and what this.
We're more results focused too,
yes.
I think. And I think that when you share the how and you share the why, it connects. It says, okay, here's the results. You want these results?
Right.
Here's why you do.
Right. So we can tell our young people, for instance, save yourself for marriage, don't have sex before marriage, and we can tell them what, and the church has been doing this, we tell them lots of what.
We preached it.
And we preached it, and we say what.
Yeah.
I think what we need to do, and resonates with people of all ages, is here's why this is important. And let's really focus on the why, which means as a communicator, I got to dig down a lot deeper and saying, okay, there's a lot of instructions and commandments, and it's not just good enough to say, well, God said or the Bible said anymore. That doesn't carry the same weight it used to. Why does the Bible say to do this? Why did God instruct us to do that commandment? And what was his why behind all of that? For instance, we command people, we tell people the Bible commands you got to tithe, you got to tithe, you got to tithe. And if we just tell them what to do, they'll do it. It doesn't work that anymore. Why is this such an important thing? And the other thing,
too, I'm thinking is that in our society today, especially in the political world, it's all what?
Yes.
There is. So if the church begins to really bring forth the message with the how and the why, it separates us from what the world is yelling about.
And now we're going to go there because wouldn't it be amazing? Just think about our political candidates and you go through election. We got one coming up here in Canada. Wouldn't it be amazing if the commercials and if the communication from our politicians was more how?
Yes.
We're going to change and less wow.
Yes.
And more why and less what. That'd be so good. And I think we like to be communicated that way. And I think as communicators, we need to be aware that hey, we've got the most important message of all to communicate.
Yes.
We should probably communicate it in such a way that people are going to grab it.
And the Lord Jesus and the early apostles really focused more on the why and the how.
That's so true.
That's so good. And we're getting back to that because we are on the same mission that the apostles were on.
Yeah, the church really is the hope of the world, and our message is so vital, and we are on a mission.
To reach every available person with the how and the why.
With the how and the why. At every available time.
By every available means.
With the gospel of Jesus Christ.
By creating churches
that unchurched people
really love to attend.
Love to attend.
Awesome.